As the offseason continues to unfold, the Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves at a critical crossroads. Omar Khan, the team's general manager, has been navigating a complex quarterback situation, and with each passing day, the options are beginning to dwindle. With only one last potential move on the table, the Steelers are beginning to feel the weight of the uncertainty. It's clear that the team is in desperate need of a long-term solution at the most important position in football. However, with the clock ticking and big decisions to be made, one thing is for certain: Pittsburgh can't afford to stand still. At the top of the list of possible answers is Aaron Rodgers, the future Hall of Famer who remains undecided about his future. For weeks now, the Steelers have been waiting, hoping that Rodgers will decide to bring his talents to Pittsburgh. But as time goes on and other teams continue to make their moves, that hope is slowly beginning to fade. The possibility of Rodgers opting for another team, or even retiring, has become increasingly likely, and with that, the Steelers must prepare for a Plan B. The reality is, they may not find the immediate answer they've been hoping for, but they must continue to explore all available avenues in search of a viable solution. One potential option could come from a surprising source: the Detroit Lions. This offseason, the Lions brought in former Steelers quarterback Kyle Allen, who had previously spent time with the team before moving on. In Detroit, Allen will join a quarterback room already packed with experience, including Jared Goff, who led the Lions to a playoff berth in 2023, and rookie Hendon Hooker, who the Lions selected in the third round of the 2023 NFL Draft. In addition, veteran backup Teddy Bridgewater, who has spent the last 2 years serving as Goff's backup, remains a free agent, still weighing his options. It's possible that Bridgewater will choose to continue playing, but if he doesn't, the Lions could be left with a crowded quarterback room, and there may be an opportunity for Pittsburgh to capitalize on that. Should Bridgewater decide to retire or leave the Lions, Pittsburgh could find themselves in need of another quarterback to serve as a reliable backup to Mason Rudolph. While Rudolph has been a staple of the Steelers' QB room for several years, his future in Pittsburgh remains uncertain, and it's clear the team is seeking more stability and depth at the position. In the worst-case scenario, the Steelers may have to rely on Rudolph to start games, but a more dynamic backup could offer them some insurance, and that's where Detroit's Hendon Hooker comes into play. Though still unproven in the NFL, Hooker is a player who, under the right circumstances, could develop into a solid contributor for the Steelers. Despite the knee injury that derailed his final season at Tennessee, Hooker was a highly regarded prospect heading into the 2023 draft. He was known for his strong arm, his athleticism, and his ability to make plays both in and out of the pocket. However, the injury caused teams to question his long-term viability, and as a result, Hooker slipped to the third round, where Detroit snatched him up. To date, Hooker has seen limited action in the NFL, appearing in just 3 games and completing 6 of 9 passes. While his sample size is small, there's potential for much more, especially in a backup role where the pressure to perform is significantly lower. It's unlikely that Hooker will see much playing time in Detroit, given that Goff is locked in as the starter. But for Pittsburgh, a team in desperate need of a backup with future potential, Hooker could be the perfect fit. Rather than signing a veteran with limited upside, the Steelers could take a chance on a young quarterback who may not be ready to start today, but could be groomed for a larger role in the future. The idea of acquiring Hooker may not be a perfect solution, but it's a calculated risk worth taking. In a season where the Steelers are still searching for stability at the quarterback position, adding a player with raw potential could pay dividends down the line. The team could bring Hooker in as a backup, allowing him to learn behind Mason Rudolph and potentially a veteran if Pittsburgh finds one. If things go according to plan, Hooker could develop into the quarterback the Steelers have been searching for, even if that's not the case right away. Of course, the Steelers won't just make this move without weighing all their options. The trade for Hooker, if it happens, likely wouldn't be an expensive one. A 6th-round pick could be enough to bring the young quarterback to Pittsburgh. And at that price, the risk is minimal. Worst-case scenario, Hooker doesn't pan out, and the Steelers have a capable QB3 who can step in for spot duty without causing significant disruption to the team's plans. However, if things break right, Pittsburgh could have a hidden gem on their hands, someone who, with proper development, could eventually take over as the starter. It's clear that the Steelers can no longer afford to be picky when it comes to their quarterback search. They've spent years looking for a long-term solution, but this offseason, they may have to settle for finding a backup with upside. While Aaron Rodgers would have been a dream scenario, it's becoming more apparent that the team needs to shift its focus to other possibilities. That could include taking a flyer on Hendon Hooker and hoping that his potential outweighs the risks. The bottom line is that the Steelers are at a crossroads, and they have to keep moving forward. While finding their next franchise quarterback might not happen this offseason, taking risks on players like Hooker gives them the best chance to build toward the future. The pursuit of a veteran quarterback carousel has proven fruitless so far, and it's time for Pittsburgh to think outside the box. Whether it's Hooker or another unproven talent, the Steelers can't afford to pass up an opportunity to improve their quarterback depth, even if that improvement doesn't come immediately. In the end, the Steelers' quarterback situation is far from settled, but they must continue to take action. Whether it's Hooker or another young quarterback with potential, Pittsburgh can't afford to let this offseason pass without adding someone who can help them in both the short term and long term. With their sights set on the future, the Steelers have to make sure they're doing everything they can to build a quarterback room that will give them a chance at sustained success. If that means taking risks on under-the-radar players like